Believe it or not, we are just 16 days out from the election. And right now it's pretty safe to say that these candidates are closing out their campaigns in slightly different ways. I mean, Kamala Harris is trying to fire up her base, getting people off the couch out to vote. She's holding big rallies with huge stars like Lizzo and Usher, getting people excited. But she's also at the same time trying to expand her base of support by doing things like walking right into the lion's den of Fox News. And on the other hand, there's Donald Trump.
Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable.
So there is that. And yes, the stories about Arnold Palmer's anatomy and the 30-minute dance sessions he did earlier this week might help explain why he and his team are avoiding more public exposure. I mean, just look at the last few weeks. He has ruled out participating in any more debates against Kamala Harris, refused to commit to a CNN town hall, backed out of an interview with 60 Minutes, backed out of an interview with CNBC, backed out of an interview with NBC News, and even canceled an appearance at an NRA event in Georgia originally slated for next week. I mean, an NRA event, everyone. What is safer for Donald Trump than that to attend? And we should point out, in case you don't remember, this is all a noticeable change from just 4 years ago. Because 4 years ago, by the end of October, Trump had done an interview with 60 Minutes, had been grilled at a town hall by NBC's Savannah Guthrie, and he had already debated Joe Biden twice. But now, in 2024, he pretty much just hunkers down among friends in safe spaces like Fox News, which even that, apparently, according to Trump, isn't friendly enough.
I'm going to see Rupert Murdoch. I'm going to tell him something very simple because I can't talk to anybody else about it. Don't put on negative commercials for 21 days. Don't put them, and don't put on their horrible people that come and lie. I'm going to say, Rupert, please do it this way. Right. And then we're going to have a victory.
I love the scratching of the head on the side of that couch. I mean, look, here's the thing. Even that very comfortable-looking couch for Trump is not comfortable enough. So again, all of this raises two very big questions. Why is Trump backing out of so many things, less than 3 weeks out from the election? And why is he only comfortable in a very narrow set of safe spaces, which continues to narrow? I mean, another explanation for all of this is that when he does attempt to answer basic questions, it always seems to go a little something like this.
Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
The question is about Google, President Trump. I mean, that was quite a journey he took us down there. See what I mean, though? Or, I mean, maybe he's canceling interviews and events because his team doesn't trust him. According to the New York Times, some of his allies and advisors are concerned about his scattershot style on the campaign trail as he continues to veer off script. Pretty sure the 12-minute story about Arnold Palmer ending with that shower scene didn't exactly calm those concerns. Or maybe Trump is ducking this stuff because he's simply too tired. Politico reported this week as well that when Trump dodged yet another interview commitment this week, one of his advisors explained to that outlet that Trump was, quote, exhausted. Now, unsurprisingly, the Harris campaign has started to seize on all of this, even posting a video of what appears to be a very sleepy Donald Trump during a campaign event on Friday. Now, I point all of this out because in a campaign and during a period of a campaign where literally every day and every hour of every day matters, it's notable that one candidate is falling asleep at his own events, rambling about Arnold Palmer's anatomy and avoiding basic questions. That's information that people should take into the voting booth with them. Of course they should. And right now, Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, is out on the trail for her, are trying their hardest to make sure they do.
Now, he's ducking debates and canceling interviews because of exhaustion. Have you noticed he tends to go off script and ramble? And generally, for the life of him, cannot finish a thought. And he has called it the weave. But I think we here will call it nonsense.
You would be worried if your grandpa started acting like this. You would. I mean, right? You'd like call up your brother, your cousin or something and be like, hey, have you seen Grandpa lately? What are we gonna do? But this is coming from somebody who wants unchecked power. We do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails.
Have you seen Grandpa lately? We should all be asking that. I mean, the bottom line here is this. Whatever Trump's reason for canceling all of these interviews, whatever his reason for hiding out in his increasingly smaller safe spaces, it's all very telling. And what it tells us is the story of one candidate who is open to being tested, who is willing to do the hard work, who's going on Fox News, an environment's not exactly friendly to her, who's calling for a second debate, and another candidate who is refusing to be tested in any real way at all. Joining me now is California Governor Gavin Newsom. Governor, it's great to see you, and there's so much I want to get into with you, but I do want to start just with the Trump of it all, because what struck me is he's been canceling lots of events and interviews, lots of them. It's quite a contrast, of course, with Harris. But as for Trump canceling interviews and events and ducking another debate, I mean, you're someone, you know him, you've paid attention to his psyche for a long time. What do you think is going on there?
Well, I mean, I've said this from day one, he's weakness masquerading as strength. He's a broken person. And you're seeing that. He's becoming increasingly, and it's remarkable to be able to say this because he's often graded on the curve, but he's increasingly acting deranged, unhinged. The rhetoric coming from the Harris campaign absolutely mimics what we're watching. I mean, you saw that 39-minute curious excavate of just narcissism at another level, where people had to sort of stare at dear leader as he was dancing or zoning out. I mean, this is a profound and remarkable moment, and I think he's not meeting that moment. I think he's increasingly concerned about his own candidacy himself, and he's going back to these safe places, Fox and Friends again this week, and the questions are yawningly predictable, and he's becoming increasingly derivative of even himself. More and more, dare I say, boring as someone that has followed him closely. He's not as interesting either as he once was.
We learned last week that Donald Trump's former chairman of the Joint Chiefs called him a fascist to the core. In an interview Harris did Tuesday, she was asked about fascism. Let's just play that and we'll talk about it.
It's two very different visions for our nation. One mind that is about taking us forward and progress and investing in the American people, investing in their ambitions, dealing with their challenges. And the other, Donald Trump, is about taking us backward.
The other is about fascism. Why can't we just say it?
Yes, we can say that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a question we've all been talking around for a while, including kind of how to describe him. But let me just start with that question. Is Donald Trump a fascist in your view?
Well, I know it's a loaded word, but when you say you're going to be dictator on day one, I mean, look up the definition of fascism, the characteristics of a dictator, an authoritarian. I mean, General Milley said it himself, but Trump, again, reinforced it himself. He talked about suspending the Constitution. This is serious stuff. You saw this last week, threatening to eliminate funding, including, by the way, to schools in California, $7.9 billion a year we receive in federal money to educate our kids if we don't do his quote-unquote bidding. You saw it a week ago in the middle of disaster recovery efforts with FEMA in the Southeast and places like South and North Carolina. And here he was threatening wildfire money yet again in the state of California. It's the most un-American thing someone can do, let alone a nominee for the highest office in the land. So I don't think it's overstating. But I deeply recognize that those are loaded words. When you use words like fascism, turns some people off. But again, by definition, I think that's a fair assessment from the Vice President and General Milley.
Yeah, and I asked that because exactly as you said about the definition of it, and as you just outlined and are the expert on, I mean, what he's threatening as it relates to your state of California that does grapple with wildfires, that grapples with natural disasters. He's been threatening essentially to withhold funding and withhold assistance. Is that something within your government, within your team, you have to plan for and think about if he's elected?
Well, it's something I don't even... not only have planned for, experienced. This is exactly what we experienced in the few years that I did work with him. I mean, this is not new. People need to understand this. We had to make calls. We had to grovel with the President of the United States, who personally needed a call to do the right thing for millions and millions of Americans. By the way, millions that actually supported him as well. He's the most un-American nominee in my lifetime. I mean, this is serious, serious stuff. He's becoming increasingly unhinged, and as the Vice President says, unstable. The unethical nature of him is next level. We experienced this, many governors, not just myself, and now he's just bloating out very much in the open and expressing himself in a much more transparent way. Wake up to that reality.